Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. This is Afefe with Touch by Tarot, checking in with you guys for another little political tidbit. Did you all hear that, I'm sure you have by now, that Mike Pence has in fact been subpoenaed by special counsel Jack Smith, right? I would give anything to just like have some popcorn and be sitting there in the room when this goes down, because Jack Smith, first of all, let's say he did something that this guy just, didn't get there. Was a disappointment to us all on many levels, Mr. Mueller. Okay, we'll put him down. But it just reminds me, when we think about the Justice Department, like, you go, Jack Smith, you go. Let's take it. Because apparently, from what I understand, Pence was in talks to do this voluntarily, and then that stalled out probably because they wanted him to come in there and say something substantive, and he probably freaked out and said, no, why would I do that? Because everybody knows this really is my personality. Check Mike Pence out, just sitting there with that Four of Cups energy, an energy of feeling kind of lost, dissatisfied. Who am I? Why am I really here? Other than to talk about the fact that I am clearly, some paragon of moral virtue. That's what he's always done. That's what he continues to do. So, but how far did that get him? Ultimately, in terms of having the respect of his party, didn't work out very well for you, Mike, now, did it? So it's going to be interesting. I found this little article. I used to be a newspaper journalist, so I come with my information. I love doing this. Check it out. When Pence was, out there promoting his book, So Help Me God. He went on November 29th, he was in front of some students at the University of Chicago. And he told them, he says here, Congress has no right to my testimony, he told them. And then he turned around in the next breath practically and said, talking about his book, So Help Me God, I think the American public deserves my story, okay? When Axelrod, who was there, my boy, was there, and he said, listen, the bottom line is, practically, I'm paraphrasing, you could have died, right? Let's think about this. This was 13 minutes, you all, that the Secret Service was trying to escort his butt out the building while they were in there. Those mobs were in there talking about hang him, right? So he's literally running for his life. And yet, the man won't come right out and say what clearly needs to be said about his boy. TRUM to the P. All right. So he goes out and he says, Axelrod says to him in front of this group at University of Chicago, but, talking about TRUMP, can't even say the name today. You had his back, but he put a target on yours. This is Axelrod talking to Pence. And he turns around, Pence says, he acknowledged that he was angry at Trump. I said it, dang it, forgive me. For tweeting that, that Pence didn't have courage. We all know the nasty things that he said about Pence. But then he turns around and Pence tells Axelrod, but I don't want to pretend about those moments. His words were reckless, meaning T. They endangered my family and they endangered everyone at the Capitol. And in that moment, T decided to be a part of the problem. Now, this is what you told people in public, it's in quotes, at the University of Chicago while you were out there touting, so help me God, you paragon of virtue, you. But then you wonder, are you really going to get there in front of that committee and tell the truth about this man? Are you really going to say how you feel? Are you really going to tell them what it was like standing next to him for those 4 years? The one who, while you are being that paragon of virtue, that while this man, you were his running mate, you were his boy, you stood by him quietly, sitting there looking lost, like a lost little boy for 4 years, while he was out there having already, brazenly admitted to grabbing, PUSSYs, right? So you played this role, and now you've got to come out and decide, are you going to tell the truth, or are you going to get out here and do some alternative facts, like some of your cronies, like your girl Kellyanne over there, who, from what I understand, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but is a board member of his super PAC, his nonprofit. What is that thing called? I didn't write it down, but it's something about American freedom, something. All right. So are you going to get up there and maybe talk to her in advance? And let's come up with some alternatives, because you've already come out and said some things about how dangerous it was to you. What truth, what version of the truth are you going to tell, my friend? And finally, I have to point out, when we're talking about whether or not he decides to actually throw his hat in the ring and be a major contender for 2024 for the GOP bid for the presidency. Old girl got out there, and she was the one they decided to do, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Got to give it to her glam squad, though, right? Because for how many days did we tune in on the, it got really difficult to watch those press conferences when she was in the White House, because that scowl, all the time. So got to give it, one up to her glam squad, because she did look halfway decent in her State of the Union response, right? But, are you going to align yourself with her? Because it would be worthwhile to check out Pence's Twitter feed in the wake of her speech. He was just effusive with how inspirational she is and how aligned he is with her message. I wonder if you manage to get through all of this muckety muck, Mr. Pence, and you do decide to run. Is that who you've got in mind for your running mate? Just asking for a friend. Have a good one, you all. Take care.